The Philippines, located in the tropical seas of Southeast Asia, are made up of more than 7,000 islands with paradise-like beaches. And they belong to the Kingdom of Spain for more than 300 years. Very similar to the period of Spanish rule in the Hispanic American countries. And yet, it is not a Spanish-speaking country today. So what happened then? Is it perhaps a failure of the Spanish expansionist attempts that took place between the 16th and 19th centuries? And finally, has Spanish really disappeared from the archipelago? Join us as we uncover this mystery below. Today, more than 170 languages are spoken throughout the Philippines. However, only Tagalog and English are considered official languages. The Spanish occupation lasted 333 years, from 1565 to 1898. Why did the Philippines stop being a Spanish-speaking country? The answer is maybe it never really was. To understand this better, let's look at a bit of history. In the year 1521, the Portuguese explorer Fernando de Magallanes arrived in the Philippines and claimed the islands for Spain, naming them Las Filipinas in honor of the future King Philip II of Spain. Later, in the year 1565, the conquest of the archipelago began when the Spanish explorer Miguel López de Legazpi arrived from the Viceroyalty of New Spain, based in Mexico City, and founded the first Spanish settlement in what is now Cebu. In 1571, the Spanish established Manila as the capital of the Philippines and of the Spanish East Indies. Spanish rule meant the political unity of the archipelago for the first time in its history. From 1565 to 1821, the Captaincy General of the Philippines depended on the Viceroyalty of New Spain, and after the Mexican War of Independence, it was administered directly from Madrid. Between the 16th and 19th centuries, the Manila Galleon, which was the name given to various ships that connected the capital of the Philippines with some ports in New Spain, mainly Acapulco. It made 1 or 2 trips a year in both directions. This contributed to the introduction of the Spanish language in the Asian islands, especially the Spanish spoken in Mexico. Thus, little by little, Castilian managed to enter the Philippines through the language adopted by the government, the church, and the commerce promoted by the Manila Galleon. Such was the importance that Spanish once had in the islands that the decrees and ordinances of the Captaincy General of the Philippines, municipal records, and other official documents were written in this language. State. It was also in the Spanish language that baptismal and marriage records kept in parish registers were written, and classes were taught in all the schools and universities, which until the early 19th century were run by religious orders. It is also worth noting that the drafting of the Philippine Declaration of Independence was done in Spanish, just like the drafting of the Malolos Constitution, with which the first Philippine Republic was born, and none other than the national anthem, which was later translated into Tagalog, and since 1956 has been the official anthem of the country. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and turn on the notification bell to get notified of new videos. However, what seemed like a promising future for Spanish in the Philippines was overshadowed by multiple factors. First of all, the large number of languages spoken in the archipelago was a major factor that made it difficult for Spanish to spread. Even at its peak, it only accounted for about 15 or 20% of the Filipino population. In 1898, Spain lost the so-called Spanish-American War and ended up ceding the territories of Cuba, Puerto Rico, and the Philippines. Once the United States took control, it annulled the proclamation of the First Philippine Republic and sparked the Philippine-American War, which ended in 1902. The United States won and subjected the Philippines to a pseudo-colony that lasted until 1945. And during this time, the Spanish language was eliminated from mandatory education in schools in absolute favor of English. Historians and philologists agree that the main reason why Spanish did not spread widely in the Philippines is because during the time of Spanish rule, the Castilian language was almost confined only to the upper social spheres, to the urban elites, intellectuals, education systems, public administration, jurisprudence, and the press, which together made up an immense minority, since the majority of the population continued speaking their own local languages. What finally finished off Spanish was the Battle of Manila from February 3 to March 3, 1945, which was one of the most violent episodes of World War II, leaving Manila as the second most devastated Allied city, only behind Warsaw in Poland. The Americans confined the Japanese to the districts of Intramuros, Ermita, and Malate, which were precisely the main centers of Hispanic culture in the city. The bombings by the Americans in these neighborhoods, along with the massacres against the civilian population ordered by the Japanese, caused more than 100,000 deaths. And the reason for the physical disappearance of the majority of Spanish speakers in the country? Finally, in the year 1946, the Philippines gained independence from the United States. After that, it adopted English as its own language, leaving Spanish on the verge of extinction, even though it was still taught in secondary and higher education until the year 1987. The Filipino government withdrew Spanish's status as an official language, while also eliminating mandatory Spanish instruction in schools. Currently, it is estimated that only 3% of the Filipino population speaks Spanish, either as a first or second language, or with some degree of knowledge. And it can be said that the language is still alive through its native languages as well, such as Tagalog itself and Chavacano, a language spoken in the Zamboanga Peninsula in the southwest of the country. For example, Tagalog absorbed about 4,000 words from Spanish, which makes up almost 30% of the Tagalog vocabulary. Some examples of this trace are the days of the week: Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, kitchen utensils like spoon and fork, and other types of vocabulary like city, window, and daily expressions like kunsta, which means how are you. However, not everything is lost for Spanish. And this is because, thanks to globalization, more and more young Filipinos are interested in learning the language, mainly motivated by job opportunities. In the last 15 years, the Cervantes Institute of Manila has always been among the 5 branches with the most Spanish students in the world. On the islands, Spanish is the most studied European language and is among the top 3 languages that generate the most interest, along with Chinese and Korean. Maybe it's possible that in the coming decades, we might see some revival of the Spanish language in what was once the Hispanic stronghold in Asia. And that's all for today. If you liked this video, don't forget to give it a like and subscribe to this channel. I invite you to also activate the bell so you'll be notified when there's a new video. See you soon.